Something very strange is happening with Russia and Roscosmos, their space agency. Putin has now been humiliated as fraudulent space program has been exposed by Russian media. Russia's state-owned media, and as we know, basically they're controlled by the communist government of Russia, especially Putin and his gang. Well, this state-owned media launched a scathing attack on the country's space program over apparent missing deadlines, unsafe equipment, and also malfunctions. Roscosmos was brutally slammed in Russia's daily newspaper Moskovsky Kosmomolets, MK for short. This happened this week for its supposed weaknesses, which included claims of corruption and embezzlement. Well, that's no surprise to us, is it? I mean, Putin's cronies are the ones that are basically getting rich, the oligarchs of Russia. So in a piece by Russian journalist Dmitry Popov, he said the space program is rotting from within, and quote, the agency's struggles were laid bare. The piece read, Roscosmos is exercising, shall we say, not so strict control over execution of defense contracts by its daughter companies. He said in March 2020, Dmitry Olegovich Rogozin approved the relevant procedural regulations to exercise control over the execution of Defense Ministry contracts by subordinate organizations of the state corporation. He goes on to say, however, an audit showed that his subordinates are in no hurry to comply with procedures, where appropriate controls are insufficient, fraud and abuse are inevitable, obviously. The Khrunichev Center reportedly agreed to produce 100 booster cores for the Agara A5 rocket 5 years ago, but the first 5 of those were only delivered this year, he says, and the other 5 have not even been completed as of yet. MK claimed that Roscosmos has also been struggling to produce the Soyuz rockets and Progress spacecraft, which are one of the key features of its space program. And it was also claimed that some chemicals that are needed for space travel cannot even be created in Russia. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box. Now, what's going through my mind is how long this MK media is going to stay afloat after all this comes out. So instead, this report said that they have to be delivered from these chemicals have to be delivered into Russia from Germany, but those international deliveries are affected by sanctions against the Russian Federation. Popov said that this could be stopped with a single keystroke. The allegation suggests that Russia's space program is, quote unquote, falling apart. This comes as Russia has been attempting to assert itself in space by forming a key partnership with China. Roscosmos announced back in March that it signed an agreement with China's National Space Administration to develop research facilities on the surface of the moon, in orbit, or both in orbit around the moon and on the moon. The countries unveiled their roadmap for the joint moon base, dubbed the International Lunar Research Station, in a move that looks set to challenge the U.S. presence in the cosmos and in a renewed space race. We know that China and Russia wanted to set up a base on the south pole of the moon and also on the dark side, the far side of the moon. So far, no countries have taken up, either China or Russia, on their invitations to participate in the research station, and Russia has been making some progress above the clouds. It launched several key missions, but Popov managed to find more flaws. He wrote for MK saying, we launched the Progress MS-16 cargo spacecraft in mid-February of this year. He says, however, it was unable to dock automatically and had to be docked under manual control due to damage to the Course NA system. That's the radar measuring system. He said it was damaged because the fairing delaminated during launch. It turned out that the epoxy used in this manufacture was not checked to see if it was in specifications. The contractor for the glue, Chemex L Limited, joint stock company, lacks the technological means to produce its own product, meaning they purchased the product from another vendor For the samples already used, documentation affirmed its confirming with specifications and its origins were never submitted. And back in 2016, the Russian government approved the nation's 10-year space program worth over 16 billion pounds. That's what, $18 billion. The plans detailed an ambitious range of missions that clearly set Russia's sights high on asserting a strong space presence. But after the scathing attack from Russian state media on its space program, that may have put its space capabilities into question. And still, Russia does have some strengths above others. The Soyuz spacecraft has been in service for more than 40 years and has over 100 missions to date. It continues to be used to transport crew and supplies to the International Space Station, as we know. And for the life of me, I really don't understand why the U.S. doesn't take its own astronauts up there. This is by Jacob Paul at Express UK. Please leave your comments and thank you for your support.